Welcome to the Dayton Jewish Cultural Arts and Book Festival. I'm Julie Bloom, Chair of the JCC's Cultural Art and Book Festival Committee. Please join me in thanking Stiver's School for the Arts and the Stiver's Orchestra for everything they've done to make tonight happen. Also, we want to thank our partners this evening, Jewish Family Services and the Jewish Federation of Greater Dayton's Holocaust Education Committee. We'd also like to thank the Ohio Arts Council and the Jewish Book Council for their ongoing support. Let's give them all a big applause. In addition, we'd like to thank our event chair, Shirley Gilbert. Her hard work and dedication tonight and for all of our events has been outstanding. The festival continues through Thursday, December 7th. For additional information regarding our events, feel free to take a brochure with you when you leave this evening. At this time, I'd like to introduce Tara Feiner, the Director of Jewish Family Services of Greater Dayton.
Thank you, Julie. Jewish Family Services is proud to partner with the JCC's Cultural Arts and Book Festival and the Holocaust Education Committee for tonight's awe-inspiring event. For the last year or so, JFS has worked closely with Cincinnati's Jewish Family Services Holocaust Survivor Program. This partnership has allowed us to assist survivors who never applied for or received restitution to complete and submit the Claims Conference Unified application. As a result, one survivor for the first time received restitution and now receives a monthly pension. Also, as part of this partnership, we were able to assist numerous survivors who are living independently outside of continuum of care facilities to access grant-funded services and supports available through Cincinnati's Holocaust Survivor Program's Claims Conference Grant. We are working hard to honor our survivors and to help them remain at home with the services and supports they need as long as possible and with the dignity they deserve. I am truly honored to introduce to you tonight Robert Bob Kahn, a local Holocaust survivor who many of us know and call a friend, to speak about his memoir, The Hard Road to Dreams. Bob's story is an incredible one, and we are grateful that he is here tonight to share it with us. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Kahn.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't this a wonderful auditorium? I've never been here, but this is lovely. And I'm glad you're here to listen to this wonderful team of musicians to play for you after I review my book, the title of which is The Hard Road of Dreams, and the subtitle, Remembering Not to Forget. My publisher, who is here tonight, Mr. Brauer, where are you? Would you please stand up and he thought that the subtitle should be the title of the book. But I convinced him that the title should be, as it is, The Hard Road of Dreams. To me, remembering not to forget was simply a strong reminder that in order to write my autobiography, I had to remember an enormous amount of detail. It had to be very descriptive and interesting. and so I set out to collect a lot of information. Writers that write primarily fiction don't have to rely on facts and write their story as they go along. I did not want to do that. And so in 1989, about 28 years ago, I got this idea to write my life story and realized that I had to organize my thoughts, where to begin, and try and figure out where that would lead me. Next, I started to collect and write all sort of information. And where there were voids, I took the time and effort to research, which turned out to be very time-consuming because in many instances I had to contact people in the old country, as we would say, and sometimes I would get a reply weeks or months later, or not at all. So it was kind of hit and miss, and it took a long time. The results was a notebook with only reams of information, but also photographs and documents. As I started to write, I made myself several promises. One was to be completely honest, not to pretend that I was always an angel, and second, memorialize each one of my 18 relatives who were murdered during the Holocaust. On the other hand, I wanted to mention those who helped me and my family so we could continue to live and escape the fate of millions of others. Finally, after many years of writing and agonizing, often many hours during the night, my book was published. But not before my granddaughter, Emily Rappaport, counseled me not to write any additional chapters because it was almost 800 pages. She did a terrific job of editing the book, which weighs a little over 3 pounds. Stand up, Emily, and let people see you. My lovely wife, Gertrude, also deserves many thanks for her support, while denying herself many hours and days and weeks of socializing with me, our friends and family. Gert, stand up and let people see you. Now back to the book. There are 20 chapters arranged in chronological order. In contrast to books of fiction, where you must read from the very beginning to the end in order to understand the plot of the story, my book allows you to pick up any chapter of interest. For example, if you want to read chapter 5, my early childhood, or chapter 9, Precarious Journey, the understanding and continuity of my story is not curtailed. Some people have told me they like to turn to the pages of the appendix because they like to look at all the photographs and documents and then go back to the text, since everything is cross-referenced. You may be interested to know that the book contains 500 photographs, illustrations, all of which are co-located in the text where they logically belong. This is in contrast with other books where there may be 10 pages of photographs in the middle of the text without further reference. Since this was one of my requirements, it made it more difficult for the publisher and more expensive for me. And that's why the book is a little more expensive for you to buy than if you had a book of fiction. Now that I have mentioned why my book is very unique in its format, let me tell you briefly what it's all about and why it is featured as an expanded autobiography. Bella Chagall, the wife of the very famous painter Marc Chagall, herself an author, phrased it so beautifully in her book, the title of which is The Burning Light, when she wrote, and I quote, "When I take from the day an hour, a moment belonging to my vanished home, dear God, it is so hard to draw out a fragment of bygone life from fleshless memories. And what if they should flicker out, my lean memories, and die away with me? I want to rescue them." That is exactly how I felt when I wrote about my life as a persecuted Jew, living as I were a hunted criminal under the regime of Adolf Hitler. My story and my research also touches on my ancestors, my parents, and my dear sister. It details specific agonies of daily and yearly persecution. My perilous flight, escapes through many countries, and then to America. If that story was not unbelievably scary enough, my time as a steel worker on high-rise buildings in Chicago, then in the Army fighting the Japanese soldiers in the Pacific, all are described in great detail. And so are my continued experiences working for the Army Intelligence Department at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and on the top-secret project Paperclip with captured German scientists whose guts I hated. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the rest of my life is revealed with its fascinating events of marriage, family, professional accomplishments, working in support of the National Security Council and the military establishment. It earned me many commendations, including a presidential citation. As it turned out, my book is unabashed, very detailed, and a blunt read. After the musical program, I will provide a special personalized written dedication for each book available for purchase. And if at that time you have any questions, I will gladly try to answer as many as you have. Now, because we're looking forward to a wonderful musical composition by the renowned Stiver School of the Arts Orchestra, I will introduce a tragic event of my life which fascinated one individual to such a degree that he composed the musical piece which you will hear later on. Tomorrow it will be exactly, and I emphasize exactly, 79 years and this horrific event that I will detail now happened. I will read you now from some excerpts from my book so you can make the connection between the event and the music. It was Wednesday, November 9, 1938, a long time ago indeed. It began like any other morning as I rode my bike to the vocational school. Several streets away from my destination, I smelled smoke, and then I heard the crackle of fire. I saw flames shooting upward. As I came closer, I realized that the fire was at the Jewish vocational school which I attended. It was impossible for me to get close because of the many people standing around. The crowd was outwardly jubilant, shouting insults against Jews and basically enjoying the calamity engulfing the 3 large factory buildings and several smaller structures of the vocational school. As I tried to compose myself, I thought it strange that there were no fire trucks, no water hoses, no ambulances. In fact, there were only a few policemen. Then I heard the Nazi-coined word Aktion, a word I was familiar with. It meant an event staged against Jews, a pogrom. The fire was well planned and executed. Its purpose was to burn down all the buildings simultaneously. I was told that a truck had been there earlier to arrest and haul away 40 students, most of whom I knew. This day, November 9, in other words, tomorrow, 1938, was the beginning of the most violent pogrom and public display of anti-Semitism in Germany and the world history. There was no way for me to know what was yet to come. Back at the scene of the fire, I was distraught, frightened, and in a cold sweat. Confused, I began my trip from the Friday rooms of the vocational school. I pedaled on my bike home in order to get there as fast as I could. When I turned in the boulevard where we were living, I immediately saw a mob of people in front of several apartments, including ours. What I saw was unbelievable. Men in street clothing appeared on our balcony, carrying armloads of clothing and other belongings, throwing them into a heap of other possessions in the yard below. The pile was burning and smoldering. What I didn't know at the moment was that shortly after I had left for school, Nazi stormtroopers disguised in civilian clothes had broken down the front door of our apartment. They had put my dad under arrest and proceeded to ransack the apartment, demolishing furniture, taking kitchen utensils, glassware, bedding, and then throwing it all off the balcony in the courtyard and setting it on fire. Trying to push my bike through the agitated crowd, cheering, a uniformed SS guard stopped me and asked where I was going. When I told him that I lived there, he escorted me into the apartment house entrance. There I heard for the first time in my life screams of my father. The Nazi hoodlums had him lying face down on the floor, brutally beating him with clubs. He had covered his head with both hands to ward off the blows, while 3 of the out-of-control Nazi beasts shouted profanities and accused him of all sorts of crimes. Dad's head was bleeding, and there was blood on his knuckles and his shirt. My entire body trembled, and my voice quivered as I shouted to them to stop beating and kicking him. When that failed, I begged them to stop. They just laughed. Then I heard my mother calling me from my bedroom where she had been locked. Her voice was tearful and whimpering. I couldn't find the key to the door, and I assured her that as best as I could, that Dad was all right. The brutes continued to break up chairs and other furniture. They carried drawers filled with our belongings down the hall to the balcony and then flung them onto the bonfire to the delight of the bystanders. I was in total shock. Had the world spun off its axis? Was it no longer in equilibrium? Or had the world turned into savages? Attempting to escape the madness, I went into my room that no longer held a bed. The 2 chests of drawers were gone, with some of the contents on the floor. My books were gone, including my beloved and treasured stamp collection. Pictures that had hung on the wall were smashed, and glass was strewn all over the floor. The closet where I had spent hours hanging and arranging my clothes was empty except for some hangers. I looked behind one panel of drapes where I had always stored my music and my violin. To my surprise, they were still there. Lovingly, I picked up my violin and looked inside. Unexpectedly, one of the Nazi stormtroopers came into the room and in a boisterous voice bellowed, "Is that your violin?" I said, "Yes." And he took it from me and said, "Follow me." Reluctantly, but without choice, I followed him to the balcony where he then ordered me, "Play!" My senses left me. All I could see was a pile of smoldering rubble, the remains of our belongings that had been ruthlessly and savagely plundered and destroyed. The people below watched happily and applauded approvingly as I stood completely helpless. The Nazi stormtrooper stood right next to me and prodded me to continue to play. I played, but I don't remember what or how and what I played. Tears ran out of my cheeks, and my vision was blurred. I didn't have to see. I could hear the people shouting and cheering. It seemed as if I was playing happy melodies on my violin at my own funeral. It was a gruesome feeling that I've never forgotten. It was Dante's Inferno. I stopped playing when I realized that the SS who had ordered me to the balcony was no longer standing beside me. When I retreated from the balcony into the apartment, Dad was sitting slumped over on the floor against the wall. But it was not long after that when the Nazis came and took him away to the concentration camp. I located the spare key and opened the bedroom where my mother had been locked up. One stormtrooper was standing in front of the demolished apartment door. We closed the wooden shutters on all of our windows, most of which were shattered, and I helped the janitor repair the entrance door temporarily. We salvaged one large, partially burned mattress, and I placed it into the bedroom on the floor, providing a place for us to sleep. The last thing I did before going to sleep, and this is the important part which connects us with the concerto that the orchestra will play. Before going to sleep, I made a trip to the attic with my violin in its case. I wrapped it in a bright red bedspread, also salvaged from the yard. Trembling, I found a good hiding spot in the corner of the attic where I lovingly hid my hopefully violin from further savagery. Now, I quoted this from the text of my book, and now I come back to the review that I made earlier. Many years later, having escaped with my life from the clutches of the Nazi bastards, I had managed to come to the land of freedom, America, become married to my sweetheart, Gertrude, and had 3 wonderful children. Only then came my violin again into my possession. And finally, to honor this musical survivor, I donated the violin as an exhibit to the United States Air Force Museum here in Dayton. There it was for all visitors to see. In the year 2005, 12 years ago, a bright young man just out of high school, accompanied by his father, visited the Holocaust exhibit at the museum. This young man was so deeply impressed by my violin and the accompanying story that he composed and dedicated a musical score and named it Robert Kahn's Violin. That young man, named Nicolo Assens, has since grown up to become a musical genius after graduating from the world-renowned Juilliard School of Music. Since then, he has received many awards and recognitions, including a Fulbright grant, which allowed him to attend the Central Conservative of Music at Beijing, China. Nicolo Assens graduated with a doctorate from Cornell University and lives currently in Beijing, China, and has performed many concerts, including in the United States, receiving many tributes and awards. Nicolo Assens, recently married, has studied at Columbia University and presently teaches theory of composition at Institute of Music in Shanghai, China. The music you will hear will be played by the well-known Stiver School for Arts under the direction of conductress Miss Lois Ramey and violin soloist Dr. Betsy Hofeld of the Dayton Philharmonic Orchestra. Conductress Lois Ramey will give you now a few interesting details about the Stiver School for Arts and the Philharmonic Orchestra. Ms. Lois Ramey.
To work on this very interesting piece, Robert Kahn's Violin. In August, when Jody Ferris contacted me via one of our teachers here, Ms. Bridget Fetterspiel about the possibility of doing this, I thought, what a fantastic opportunity for us to go into the world of accompanying a soloist. That's a whole different thing than being the soloists ourselves. And then, once we heard the story of where this piece, from whence the piece came, I was that much more fascinated. And our collaboration with Dr. Hofeld, with Betsy, has been, I think, very eye-opening for all of us, a wonderful experience. And I think the composer, Mr. Athens, has really caught the spirit of life in its most celebration and most celebratory sense. There's lots of music that will remind you of klezmer music in here. But he's also caught the spirit of danger and fear and a sense of impending or something lurking in the background. There's always a little bit of tension in whatever part is there. So it is our privilege to play this for you tonight, to be a part of the celebration of Mr. Kahn, and most importantly, I think, a piece of art that it will stand in its stead as something that will continue to tell the story in a different way, in a deep way as well as the words do. And it is, we should definitely note that this is the first time this piece has been performed in a public setting. There was, Mr. Evans told me they played it in some sight reading kinds of things that they do in conservatories to hear what the pieces actually sound like. But this is the first official public performance, and it is our honor to do it, and we pray that we do it justice. So if you'll give us just a moment, we'll settle ourselves in the seats a little bit more, and then we'll be presenting Robert Kahn's violin by Nicolo Athens.
wonderful performance. We have flowers for everyone.
Now it's our turn. Okay. We'd like to give you a small token of our appreciation. We truly appreciate you sharing your story and your book with us. It is important, one to remember and never forget. Please save the date for Sunday, April 8th, 2018 at 4 p.m. at Beth Jacobs Synagogue on North Main Street. It's our annual Yom HaShoah Remembrance Program. We honor the survivors that are here with us today, and we also give memory for the ones that did not make it out of the Holocaust. So we're looking forward to seeing all of you there. Again, we also have survey sheets when you exit. If you could give us feedback, that would be very appreciative. And thank you so much for that I'll never forget.